Sergeant Liam Hayes has been having what military personnel traditionally refer to as a bad week. 3 days ago, his transport got shot down during what was supposed to be a routine supply run to coalition forward positions on a Shara IV. The crash killed the pilot, destroyed most of the cargo, and left Liam stranded in hostile territory with a broken communicator, minimal supplies, and a growing collection of injuries he's been trying to ignore. His rifle was destroyed in the crash. The receiver cracked beyond repair when the transport hit ground. His sidearm ran out of ammunition yesterday afternoon after an encounter with a Krell patrol that he barely escaped. He's down to his combat knife, his emergency kit, and approximately 30 kilometers of hostile terrain between him and the coalition rally point. Protocol says move at night, avoid contact, prioritize survival and reaching friendly forces. Report the situation. Let the proper authorities handle rescue operations. Don't engage, don't deviate from the extraction route, don't do anything that might compromise his ability to reach safety. Liam has never been particularly good at following protocol when it conflicts with his conscience, which is why he's a sergeant at 32 instead of an officer. Too many incidents of what his commanding officers diplomatically call insubordination for heroic purposes on his service record. Things like ignoring retreat orders to extract wounded soldiers, engaging enemies when ordered to maintain position, prioritizing civilian evacuation over strategic objectives. The kind of decisions that get you commended and reprimanded simultaneously. So when he hears weapons fire and what sounds distinctly like someone screaming for help, his immediate response is not follow protocol and keep moving. His immediate response is someone needs help, which overrides approximately all tactical considerations. He follows the sound to a crashed scout vessel, probably came down during the same attack that got his transport. The wreckage is still smoking, scattered across a clearing that offers exactly zero cover. 3 Krell raiders are working at the crash site, trying to extract someone pinned in the wreckage. From this angle, Liam can see it's a Varani soldier, alive but trapped, and the Krell aren't performing a rescue operation. They're attempting extraction for interrogation purposes, or execution, possibly both. The smart play is to observe, gather intelligence, continue to the rally point, and report enemy position. Let proper military assets handle this with air support and overwhelming force. That's the tactical approach. That's what the manual says. Liam assesses the situation in about 3 seconds. The Varani is trapped and injured. The Krell are armed with energy weapons. He has a knife. The tactical odds are catastrophically terrible. He's going to do it anyway because apparently that's who he is now. The Krell are focused on their prisoner, haven't noticed him yet. Liam has maybe 10 seconds of surprise advantage before this becomes a fight he will almost certainly lose. He uses those 10 seconds to commit completely to the worst decision he's made this week, which is impressive given that his week already included crashing in hostile territory. He rushes the nearest Krell from behind, gets him in a headlock he learned in basic training 8 years ago, applies pressure to the carotid arteries until the raider drops, grabs the Krell's weapon as he falls, gets one shot off at the second raider before the power cell depletes because of course it does. The shot takes the second Krell down, which is lucky, but now the weapon is dead and the other 2 Krell are very aware he exists. Liam drops the useless weapon, pulls his combat knife and does the math. 2 Krell, both armed, both bigger than him, both with natural armor plating humans lack. Him. 1 knife, multiple injuries from the crash. No backup, no cover, no plan beyond. Don't let them kill the trapped soldier. The odds are terrible. He charges anyway. The Varani soldier, Specialist Kessa Thrain, though Liam doesn't know her name yet, watches this human rush armed enemies with nothing but a knife, and what appears to be either supreme confidence or complete insanity. Probably both. She's been pinned in this wreckage for an hour, listening to the Krell discuss what they're going to do to her once they extract her, resigning herself to a death that's going to hurt. Then this human appears and just attacks, without apparent strategy, without proper weapons, just moving with violent determination. Varani combat doctrine emphasizes tactical assessment, optimal weapon deployment, strategic advantage before engagement. This human is doing none of those things. He's just fighting. The third Krell tries to bring his weapon to bear, but Liam's inside his guard already, moving with the kind of desperate speed that comes from knowing if he slows down he dies. He uses the knife in ways his instructors taught him. Efficient, brutal, targeting weak points in the Krell armor. Gets slashed across the arm for his trouble, feels ribs crack from a hit he couldn't avoid, keeps moving because stopping means dying. The Krell goes down after what feels like an hour, but was probably 30 seconds of desperate close-quarters combat that would make any tactical instructor weep. The fourth Krell has learned from his companion's mistake, maintains distance, has his weapon up and aimed at Liam. At this range, with an energy weapon, there's no clever combat technique that's going to help. Liam does the only thing that might work. Throws his combat knife with accuracy born from hundreds of hours of training he never thought would actually matter. The knife takes the Krell in the throat. Not a kill shot immediately. Their anatomy is different. Their armor partially deflected the blade, but enough to make him drop his weapon and grab at the knife instead of shooting the human rushing him. Liam closes the distance in seconds, finishes the fight with his bare hands because that's all he has left. It's not elegant. It's not honorable by any civilized standard. It's survival through violence. And by the time the Krell stops moving, Liam is breathing hard, bleeding from multiple wounds, and pretty sure he's made every injury from the crash significantly worse. He collapses against the wreckage, taking inventory. 3 broken or cracked ribs, deep laceration on his left arm, various other injuries that hurt but probably won't kill him. Acceptable given the alternative was letting someone die. "You can come out now," he manages between breaths, looking at Kessa still pinned in the wreckage. Or, "Well, I can help you come out. Are you injured? Can you move?" Kessa is trying to process what she just witnessed. This human, this unarmed, injured, clearly outmatched human, just killed 4 Krell raiders in close combat using improvised tactics and what appeared to be nothing but sheer determination to not die. "You fought them," she says, her voice carrying disbelief. "With your hands. You charged armed enemies without weapons, without armor, without rational tactical planning." "Didn't have much choice," Liam says, examining his arm wound and concluding it's bad but manageable. "They were going to kill you. I couldn't let that happen." He moves to the wreckage, starts trying to lever the twisted metal pinning her legs. "I'm Sergeant Liam Hayes, Coalition Defense Forces. Let's get you out of here before more Krell show up to investigate the noise." Specialist Kessa Thrain, Varani Expeditionary Corps. She's still staring at him like he's violated several laws of physics. "You're bleeding, multiple lacerations, probable fractures. You need immediate medical attention. After we get you free, priorities." Liam's working on the debris, using leverage since he doesn't have proper tools. "Can you feel your legs? Any numbness or loss of sensation?" "Some numbness. But Sergeant Hayes, you just fought 4 armed opponents without weapons. That's not tactical, that's not rational, that's..." She searches for words. "Human." Liam suggests getting enough debris moved that she can start pulling her legs free. "Yeah, we get that a lot. Apparently we're terrible at the whole assess tactical situation rationally thing. We're much better at the see problem, fix problem, worry about consequences later approach." He helps her extract her legs from the wreckage. One is clearly broken. She gasps when she tries to put weight on it, catches herself against the debris. "Can you stand?" "No, the leg is fractured, possibly in multiple locations." "I can't. You should leave me here. Proceed to safety." "I'll only impede your movement. The optimal strategy is..." "The optimal strategy is boring," Liam interrupts, positioning himself to support her weight. "I prefer the nobody gets left behind strategy. It's more exciting. You're going to lean on me. We're going to move slowly toward the rally point, and you're going to tell me if your injuries worsen. That's the plan." "That's not a plan," That's suicide. I'm injured. You're injured. Together we move at reduced speed. The Krell will pursue. The mathematical probability of successful extraction. Math is for people who have time to do math. I just spent the last 5 minutes fighting with my hands. I'm committed to bad decisions now. Might as well continue. Liam starts moving, supporting her weight, heading in the direction of the rally point at a pace that's agonizingly slow but the best they can manage. Also, I didn't fight for Krell with my hands just to leave you here. That would make the whole getting stabbed and punched repeatedly thing feel pointless. You're insane. Probably, but I'm the insane person who just saved your life, so maybe hold the criticism until we're somewhere safer. He adjusts his grip as the terrain gets rough. How far to the rally point from your last known position? Approximately 28 kilometers northeast. But Sergeant Hayes, I need you to understand. Leaving me and proceeding alone would increase your survival probability by. I really don't care about the math right now. Just tell me if you need to rest and which direction has the fewest Krell. Liam is bleeding, exhausted, supporting the weight of an injured soldier who's heavier than him, and moving through hostile territory with no weapons except his bare hands and determination. It's objectively terrible. He's doing it anyway. Because sometimes being human means the math doesn't matter as much as the principle. They move through the night, Liam supporting Kessa's weight while she tries not to be a burden and fails because her leg is broken and moving at all requires assistance. He's bleeding. The arm wound needs proper treatment he can't provide. She's injured. The leg needs stabilization he doesn't have equipment for. And they're both operating on determination that's outpacing their physical capabilities. During one of their necessary rest stops, Kessa finally voices the question she's been processing. In Varani combat doctrine, we assess tactical situations comprehensively before engagement. Calculate force ratios, weapon effectiveness, environmental advantages, strategic objectives. You performed none of these assessments. You simply attacked. Didn't have time for assessment, Liam says, while rewrapping his arm wound with material torn from his shirt. You were trapped, they were armed. Every second I spent calculating was a second closer to them killing you. Assessment would have reached the same conclusion. They needed to be stopped, so I skipped to the stopping part. He finishes the bandage, tests its security. Faster that way. But you were unarmed. You had no tactical advantage. Every reasonable calculation indicates you should have died in that engagement. Yeah, I was there. It was extremely uncomfortable. Liam checks their direction using the stars, adjusts their heading slightly. But I didn't die, you're still alive, so the calculation must have been missing something. What could it possibly have missed? The tactical disadvantage was absolute. Motivation, stubbornness, really strong preference for not dying. Liam helps her stand, supports her weight again, resumes moving. I don't know what to tell you, Kessa. I saw someone who needed help. I could provide help. I provided help. That's the entire thought process. There wasn't a lot of calculation involved. That's not combat doctrine. That's not survival strategy. Maybe not for Varani. But humans are weird about this stuff. We're terrible at calculating odds. We just do what needs doing and figure out the survival part afterward. He's navigating rough terrain, trying to find paths that won't require her to put weight on the broken leg. Apparently it works out enough that we're still around as a species. They continue moving. Kessa is watching him now, really watching, trying to reconcile this human's behavior with everything she understands about rational tactical decision-making. He's injured, exhausted, supporting her weight through hostile territory, and he's not complaining, not calculating whether abandoning her would increase his survival probability. Just moving like it's simple instead of impossible. Your species is either the bravest in the galaxy or the most foolish, she says finally. Can it be both? Liam grins despite the pain. We contain multitudes, sometimes brave, sometimes foolish, frequently both simultaneously. It keeps things interesting. With humans, I'm learning interesting means tactically inadvisable but somehow successful. They rest again. Liam's checking their progress. They're maybe a third of the way to the rally point, moving slower than he'd prefer, but moving. Kessa is processing what she witnessed, what she's continuing to witness. This human fought 4 armed enemies with his hands, charged them without hesitation, survived through what appears to be sheer refusal to accept that dying was the likely outcome. "Why did you really help me?" she asks, not the simple answer, the truth. Liam considers this while examining his arm wound, which is showing signs of infection he's trying to ignore. "Because walking away would mean living with the knowledge that I could have helped and chose not to. And I'm not good at living with that. Guilt is uncomfortable. Taking action is easier, even when the action involves fighting 4 Krell with my hands and probably getting myself killed. Still easier than the guilt. You risked your life to avoid guilt. I mean, when you phrase it that way it sounds stupid, but yeah, basically." He helps her stand again, also because it was the right thing to do. Also because I'm apparently not wired to calculate whether someone's strategically valuable before deciding to help them. My commanding officers cite this as both a strength and a limitation in my performance evaluations. Kessa is trying to reconcile her cultural understanding of rational behavior with this human's approach to ethics. Varani calculates strategic value of individual preservation versus collective benefit. We assess whether one death now prevents greater losses later. We optimize for letting someone die because the math says that's optimal. Liam adjusts his grip as the terrain gets steeper. That sounds terrible. That sounds logical. But logical and terrible aren't mutually exclusive. He's breathing hard now, the exertion and injuries catching up with him. "Look, I'm not saying your way is wrong. It's probably more efficient, better for long-term species survival. Keeps more soldiers alive overall through optimal resource allocation. But it's not what I can live with. I can't do the math that says someone dies and that's acceptable because the numbers work. Maybe that makes me stupid. But it makes me human, and I'm okay with that." They rest more frequently now. Liam is pushing his limits. The injuries are taking their toll, but he keeps moving because stopping means they're still in hostile territory, and that's unacceptable. Kessa watches him push through pain and exhaustion with the same determination he showed fighting the Krell, without complaint, without calculating whether continuing is optimal, just moving because someone needs help getting to safety. "You've changed something in my understanding today," she says during one rest. "Changed what?" "I watched you fight, with your hands, with nothing but determination and will to survive, and I realized we've forgotten something." She's looking at him differently now, not as a tactical curiosity but as something that challenges her worldview. Varani have advanced technology, sophisticated combat doctrine, strategic superiority through calculated engagement. But we've forgotten how to want something badly enough to do impossible things. You fought with your hands because you decided I was worth saving, and that decision was stronger than tactical calculation. That's not primitive, that's extraordinary. "It's just stubbornness," Liam says, but he's listening. "No, it's will. It's the strength that comes from deciding something matters more than your own survival, and then acting on that decision without calculating the cost." Kessa's voice carries conviction now. We've optimized that out of our culture. We calculate, we assess, we choose the mathematically optimal path, but we've lost the ability to fight with our hands when that's all we have. We've lost the willingness to do impossible things because someone needs help. You showed me we've lost something vital. That's a lot of meaning to extract from me being bad at tactical assessment. That's everything. You're not bad at tactics. You're operating on different principles, principles my people have forgotten. She pauses. "When you charged those Krell, what were you thinking?" "Honestly, I was thinking, this is going to hurt and I'm probably going to die, but if I don't try then that soldier definitely dies and I can't live with that." Liam manages a tired smile. Very sophisticated thought process. Years of military training culminating in try not to die while stopping the bad guys. That's the most honest combat doctrine I've ever heard. They continue moving. The terrain is getting worse. rocky, unstable, requiring careful navigation that's difficult when one person can't walk unassisted. Liam compensates by being stubborn, by refusing to acknowledge how much pain he's in, by focusing on the goal instead of the obstacles. 2 days into their journey, moving at night, hiding during day, surviving on emergency rations and water Liam's purifying with equipment from his kit. They're close enough to the rally point that Liam's broken communicator picks up coalition signals. Weak, intermittent, but there. Almost there, he tells Kessa, who's looking worse than she's admitting. The leg infection is spreading despite his attempts at treatment. She needs proper medical attention soon. Maybe 8 more kilometers. We can make it. Liam, she's using his first name now, has been since the 2nd day. If we encounter resistance, if the situation becomes untenable, you need to leave me and proceed to safety. Promise me. I'm not promising that. Be logical, I'm infected, slowing you down. If the Krell find us, your best chance is to continue doing what's worked so far, refusing to accept that some situations are impossible. He adjusts his grip, keeps moving. We've come this far, we're finishing this together, that's not negotiable. You're impossible. I'm human, we specialize in impossible. They reach the rally point just after dawn on the 3rd day, both barely conscious, both more injured than they're admitting but alive. Coalition forces are there, proper military presence, medical facilities, safety. Soldiers rush to meet them, start providing assistance. Sergeant Hayes, the lieutenant in charge, is staring at Liam's condition with alarm. You look like you fought a war single-handedly. Just 4 Krell, Liam says, transferring Kessa's weight to the medics. She needs immediate treatment. Broken leg, developing infection, multiple impact injuries from her crash. I need you too. He doesn't finish because his legs stop accepting commands and he collapses. Medical personnel catch him, start assessing his injuries while he tries to explain that Kessa needs treatment first, that he's fine, that he just needs to rest for a minute. The medical assessment concludes he has 3 cracked ribs, severe lacerations on his arm showing advanced infection, multiple contusions, significant dehydration, and what the chief medical officer describes as a frankly stunning disregard for personal safety that we'll be discussing when you're not actively dying. I'm not dying, Liam protests weakly. You're closer than you think. Be quiet and let us work. Kessa is in the next bed over, her leg already in a regeneration cast, antibiotics fighting the infection, proper medical care reversing the damage. She watches them treat Liam, this human who fought with his hands, who carried her 30 kilometers through hostile territory while injured, who refused every logical suggestion that he should leave her and save himself. She gives her report to the Varani liaison officer, detailed and precise. Sergeant Liam Hayes engaged 4 armed Krell raiders in close quarters combat using improvised weapons and ultimately hand-to-hand techniques. Without armor or proper armament, while injured from his own crash, to protect a soldier he'd never met. The tactical assessment was catastrophically unfavorable. He should have died. Instead, he prevailed through sheer determination and refused to accept that the situation was unwinnable. He then transported me 30 kilometers through hostile territory while both of us were severely injured, declining multiple opportunities to abandon me and proceed alone. Her liaison officer reviews the report. You're recommending him for commendation. I'm recommending him for more than commendation. I'm recommending we study what he demonstrated. Not the tactics, those were improvised and desperate. But the mindset, the willingness to fight with his hands when he had nothing else. Firm, we've optimized that capacity out of our culture. We calculate everything. But humans still have it, the ability to just move when movement is needed, to fight with their hands if that's all they have, to do impossible things because someone needs help. That's a strength we need to relearn. That's a significant cultural assessment based on one incident. It's an assessment based on watching a human fight 4 armed enemies with his bare hands and win through nothing but determination. Based on watching him refuse to accept tactical reality, because accepting it meant someone died. Based on 3 days of seeing him push through pain and injury because he decided I mattered. She looks at Liam, unconscious now while medics work. He showed me something we've forgotten. That's worth studying. Liam wakes up 2 days later in a proper medical facility, the kind with actual beds and equipment that doesn't beep ominously. Dr. Kessler, the coalition medical officer, greets him with professional cheer. "Welcome back, Sergeant. You've been unconscious for 48 hours, which is frankly impressive given that you should have been unconscious approximately 3 days ago when you sustained your injuries. Instead, you carried another soldier through hostile territory. Care to explain your thought process?" "Someone needed help," Liam offers. "That's not a medical explanation, that's barely an explanation." Dr. Kessler reviews his charts. 3 cracked ribs, severe laceration with advanced infection requiring aggressive antibiotic treatment, multiple contusions, significant dehydration, and general physical trauma that suggests you fought something large and angry with your hands. For Krell, they were in the way. Of course they were. Dr. Kessler sighs in the way medical professionals do when confronted with patients who make deliberately poor decisions. "You're going to be fine, incidentally. The ribs are healing, the infection is responding to treatment. You're remarkably resilient for someone who used themselves as a blunt weapon against armored hostiles. You're also going to have visitors shortly. Specialist Thrain has been waiting for you to wake up. And there's a Varani general who wants to discuss your actions. And your own commanding officer, who I believe wants to both commend and reprimand you simultaneously." "That sounds about right." Kessa visits first. She's walking now, the regeneration treatment having worked rapidly on her leg. She sits beside his bed, watches him for a moment with that expression that suggests she's still processing everything that happened. "You look better than you did 3 days ago," Liam observes. "So do you, less like you fought a war single-handedly." She pauses. "I've been thinking about what you did, about what it means. It means I'm bad at tactical assessment. It means you showed me something I didn't understand before, a kind of strength that has nothing to do with weapons or tactics or technology. Just will. The refusal to accept that some things are impossible because someone needs help." Her voice carries weight. "I've told my superiors about it, about the human who fought with his hands. They're interested." That sounds ominous. It's not, it's recognition. You demonstrated something we've lost. The ability to move immediately when someone needs help, without calculating whether they're worth saving. To fight with your hands if that's all you have. To want someone to survive badly enough that impossible things become possible. She leans forward. "You're going to become a story, Liam, the human who fought with his hands, who charged armed enemies without weapons because someone needed help. That story is going to spread. I don't want to be a story, I just wanted to help. I know, that's what makes the story powerful. You didn't do it for recognition or glory. You did it because I needed help and you were there. That authenticity matters." She stands. "Thank you for fighting with your hands, for showing me what real strength looks like, for refusing to calculate whether I was worth saving before deciding to save me. You were worth saving, obviously. To you, yes. To Varani tactical doctrine, I was a single soldier in a compromised position. The mathematically optimal choice was to proceed to safety and report my position for eventual rescue that might not arrive in time." She smiles. "You ignored the mathematics, fought with your hands instead. Changed everything I understood about strength." The story spreads exactly as Kessa predicted. Through coalition channels, through Varani command structures, through the networks of species that share information about significant events. The details vary in the telling. Some versions have him fighting 6 Krell, others have the fight lasting hours. A few creative retellings add dramatic elements that make Liam uncomfortable, but the core remains constant. A human, unarmed, chose to fight impossible odds to save someone, used his hands when he had nothing else, survived through sheer determination, refused to accept that tactical disadvantage meant defeat. The human who fought with his hands becomes shorthand for a particular approach to crisis. Immediate action over optimal calculation, will over weapons, refusing to accept impossible odds. 6 months later, Liam is back on active duty, promoted to staff sergeant despite his protests that he doesn't want more responsibility. He's assigned to Joint Coalition Varani operations, partly because someone thinks his perspective is valuable, partly because Kessa requested his presence. She's teaching combat seminars now, using his fight as a case study. Sergeant Hayes engaged 4 armed opponents using improvised weapons and ultimately hand-to-hand combat. She tells a room full of Varani officers. Every tactical assessment said he should have died. Instead, he prevailed. Why? Not because he had superior weapons or armor, not because he calculated a brilliant strategy, but because he decided someone needed help, and that decision was stronger than tactical reality. After the seminar, they talk. "You're teaching Varani to fight like humans," Liam asks. "I'm teaching Varani to remember that we have hands, that we have will, that sometimes the best response to impossible situations is refusing to accept they're impossible." She grins. "You demonstrated that, showed us we've been overthinking combat. That sometimes you just need to move, to fight with whatever you have, to want something badly enough that the impossible becomes survivable. That's a dangerous lesson, going to get people hurt. You got hurt. You also saved my life and demonstrated a form of strength we'd forgotten. I'll accept the danger for that kind of strength." She's serious now. "You changed how Varani think about combat, Liam, about strength, about what matters when weapons fail and tactics are irrelevant. You showed us that will, human will, the refusal to quit, is still the most important weapon." 1 year after the fight, Liam attends a coalition strategy briefing where Varani General Thorne discusses tactical adaptations. The general uses Liam's fight as an example. Sergeant Hayes demonstrated that technological advantage can be overcome through immediate action and close-quarters engagement. His willingness to fight with improvised weapons, and ultimately his hands revealed that the warrior spirit, what humans call will, or determination, remains the decisive factor even in technologically advanced warfare. We have incorporated this understanding into our combat doctrine. When weapons fail, when tactics are compromised, when optimal strategy is unavailable, we fight with our hands if necessary. Sergeant Hayes taught us that. After the briefing, General Thorne approaches him directly. "Your actions have fundamentally altered Varani combat training. We now emphasize close-quarters engagement, fighting without optimal conditions, the strength that derives from will rather than weapons. You fought with your hands and taught an empire that we'd forgotten how to be warriors when our technology fails." "I just did what needed doing," Liam says. "Precisely, and that's the lesson. That sometimes you simply do what needs doing, regardless of tactical assessment. You charge armed enemies with your hands if that's what you have. You fight impossible odds if someone needs help. You refuse to calculate whether winning is possible before deciding to try." The general's expression softens. "You're a symbol now, Sergeant, the human who fought with his hands. Every Varani officer knows that story. Many aspire to that kind of strength." Liam eventually accepts that his worst day, fighting for Krell with his hands while injured, carrying Kessa through hostile territory while both of them were dying, became something larger than survival, became a teaching moment, became proof that humans contribute something vital to the coalition, the refusal to accept impossible odds, the willingness to fight with whatever they have, the strength that comes from deciding someone matters and acting on that decision without calculating the cost. 2 years after the incident, Kessa and Liam are assigned to a joint training facility, developing programs that integrate human and Varani combat approaches. She teaches tactical assessment and optimal strategy. He teaches immediate action response and fighting with inadequate resources. Together, they're creating something new. Combat doctrine that values both calculation and will, both optimal strategy and immediate action. You fought with your hands, Kessa tells him during a planning session. That's your legacy. Not just that you saved me, though I'm grateful, but that you showed two species how to be stronger together. Varani bring tactical sophistication. Humans bring the refusal to quit. Together, we're teaching people to think strategically but move decisively, to calculate when time permits but fight with their hands when it doesn't. That's a lot of meaning to extract from me being bad at following protocol. That's everything. You weren't bad at protocol. You were operating on different principles. Principles that saved my life and changed how an empire understands strength. She smiles. You fought with your hands because that's what you had. You charged armed enemies because someone needed help. You refused to accept that tactical disadvantage meant defeat. That's not primitive. That's extraordinary. That's human. The stories continue spreading. Across coalition space, through military academies, in training facilities where officers learn that sometimes the best weapon is determination. Sometimes optimal tactics mean fighting with your hands. Sometimes strength is just refusing to accept that you've lost. And Liam Hayes, who just wanted to help someone who needed help, becomes the symbol of what humans bring to the galactic community. The stubborn refusal to calculate whether something is possible before deciding to try it anyway. The willingness to fight with their hands when that's all they have. The strength that comes from deciding someone matters and acting on that decision without counting the cost. When others freeze, humans move, becomes the phrase that summarizes human contribution to coalition doctrine. When weapons fail, humans fight with their hands. When odds are impossible, humans charge anyway. And across the stars, species learn what humans have always known. Sometimes the best response to impossible situations is refusing to accept they're impossible. Sometimes strength is fighting with your hands because that's what you have. Sometimes being human means doing impossible things because someone needs help. And that's enough, that's everything.